Welcome on in, guys. Three bold takes. If you didn't see our other video, we did a reaction to the college football playoff top four. Also, join our Capital One Bowl Mania. The link is in the description. We're talking a little New Year's Six bowl games. Now, like I mentioned, we already did the playoffs in a separate video. Go check that out. We're only talking about the remaining four New Year's Six games. The Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl in this video. It was announced today that Ohio State and Missouri will be playing in the Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas. Penn State will face Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Florida State and Georgia play in the Orange Bowl. That's an intriguing matchup there. And then Liberty sneaking in one spot above SMU for the highest ranked Group of Five team to play Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. So let's kind of talk about it. Which one of these matchups do you like the best and most excited to see? Quinn, let's start with you on this one.
Well, for me, best and most excited to see are two very different answers. So I'll give you the one I'm most excited to see, which is Ole Miss versus Penn State. And the reason that is my choice, first off, before these were announced, I was sending you guys predictions, and this one was one of the matchups I wanted. And my main reason is two of the most hot topic coaches we've had all season long is James Franklin and Lane Kiffin. We've got it's really, I'm sitting on the sideline here because I think both of them are doing a pretty bang up job myself. They're both in the New Year's Six bowls again. This is going to be the second time that Lane Kiffin's taken Ole Miss in his 4 years to a New Year's Six bowl. And then James Franklin has made it pretty standard place to get Penn State there. I guess that is in of itself Chase's point, is they don't get past that. But James Franklin is Chase's worst enemy. Lane Kiffin is Freddie's, and I cannot wait to watch these two teams play each other because one of them is going to get on here and brag so hard, and the other one is going to be so mad. And I cannot wait to see which one it is. So when that got announced, I was over the moon. I was so excited. I cannot wait to watch Ole Miss versus Penn State. That is the one I am on edge for and cannot wait for.
Chase?
Gosh, I was waiting on you to give me your exciting one too, Quinn.
I can do that real quick.
You would, because I was going to give both of my two. So you go ahead.
Okay. Quinn. My other one that I'm most or the one that I think is the best one, the one I'm most excited for is Ole Miss Penn State. The one I think is the best matchup was Florida State and Georgia. I was wanting that really bad when I found out Florida State was left out, because if you think back to last year, Alabama fans in Alabama was really upset that they were left out of the playoff for TCU, right? And they were given an opportunity to play the Big 12 champion, Kansas State, who had beaten TCU, and prove that they should have been. And all they did was go down to New Orleans and kick Kansas State around for 4 quarters and prove that they were probably better than TCU. Florida State has now been given the same opportunity. Florida State was told, you're not good enough to be a playoff team. Here is your consolation prize. You're going to go down to Miami. You're going to play Georgia, the team that, let's be real, that's what boosted Alabama's resume to get in over, was beating Georgia. And now they are handed the opportunity to prove everyone wrong and beat Georgia. I'm not saying they will or won't, but I think it's the best matchup given the drama around the selection of the playoff, and it can really throw a wrench in how people perceive this year's playoff if Florida State was to beat Georgia.
And so it's most exciting. And what did you call the other one? I got it confused.
The best.
The best. Okay. So most exciting for me, I'm going to go Georgia and Florida State. I forgot to mention this when we did our college football playoff reaction. But everybody that's whining, there's a lot of tears. There's a lot of Whamburgers and French cries for Florida State. If you're a top 4 team, you should handle Georgia easily from the way that you're speaking about your team, and you should be a top 4 team competing for a national championship. You should be able to beat Georgia. So there's your opportunity. Show us. Because last year, Quinn, you bring up Alabama beating Kansas State. Kansas State, I believe, wasn't even a top 10 team.
Yeah, they
You,
were. They were
they
8 or
were?
9. Yeah, I
Oh,
think they were either 8 or 9.
I thought they were like 11. My bad. But Georgia's a two-time defending national champion, and they're going to come in pissed off because they lost by 3 points and had a 12-1 season, and they believe they should be a top 4 team too. So Florida State, if you're as good as you think you are, you have a chance to prove it. So I'm excited to watch that one because I definitely think it's going in the opposite direction of the way I'm speaking of it. But the other one, the one I'm going to watch, or the one I think is going to be one of the best. I think it's going to be the Ohio State Missouri game in the Cotton Bowl. Um, Missouri has played extremely well this year. Ohio State has a really good defense. They've had some uncharacteristic tendencies on offensive points, and the quarterback play hasn't been amazing. I definitely think you're going to see a couple of these guys for Ohio State, big name draft picks sit out. Marvin Harrison Jr. is definitely going to be one of them. Missouri's got a lot of super senior guys and a lot of guys that still need to prove themselves a little bit, maybe like Brady Cook, some others that say, hey, might be flirting with the draft. I think Missouri's going to be nearly full throttle. Ohio State's going to have a few less people. So it's going to be a very mutual, even playing field, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. So the Cotton Bowl is one for me. Freddie?
Yeah, so I think for me the most exciting per se, I'm gonna go with a game nobody's talked about yet, and that's Oregon and Liberty. I'm simply gonna choose that one for one reason. Well, two reasons. One, you guys didn't talk about it, but also if you look at last year when Tulane beat USC as the group of five, as the highest ranked group of five in the Cotton Bowl, I believe it was last year. A lot of USC's players sat out, right? And that's what gave Tulane the edge. Now, kind of a hot topic that Liberty's actually the team that's going to be playing in the New Year's Six Bowl. Personally, I would have picked SMU over them, personally, or even Troy, honestly. But Liberty did have the 133rd strength of schedule in the country, which, if you know anything about college football, there's 133 teams in the entire country. So, for what it's worth, I feel like Oregon's a lot of their players are going to either opt out, and the ones that are looking to transfer probably will opt out too and not play, go ahead and enter their name in the transfer portal. So I'm excited to see that matchup because you know that Liberty is going to come in hot and heavy. Everybody's going to be playing for them. They're going to want to beat Oregon so bad, and I really don't think Oregon really give two craps about the Fiesta Bowl. So it's kind of a cool dynamic between two separate teams. The best matchup is definitely, to me, Florida State and Georgia. For what you guys already said, Florida State really wants to prove that they should have been there. Georgia is pissed off, but I still feel like a lot of opt-outs are going to come from Georgia as well for those that will be drafted. So how will that hinder them? I still think Georgia absolutely obliterates Florida State. I'm sorry, but if Florida State can't move the ball very well against Louisville, they may move backwards against Georgia. Now, I know that Louisville's defense, their rushing defense, is one of the best in the country. However, it's a different ball game whenever you play Georgia, and I think everybody understands that. So that's a matchup for me that I'm hoping, or like that I think is the best in a sense of America and like the world of college football saying, yes, we get the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. Quinn, I love how you brought up the Penn State Ole Miss. Super excited for that one too because of that reason. But Ohio State and Missouri, I just want to touch on that really quick here. Quinn, you had an issue with Missouri being ranked ahead of Ole Miss anyways.
Yep.
Are you secretly kind of hoping that Ohio State, I know you're an SEC guy, right? We all are. We all want the SEC to win. But would it mean anything to you if Ohio State just blew out Missouri as kind of like for you, like a I was right type deal, that Ole Miss is better?
Well, to pull back the curtain a little bit on my predictions, I nailed Ole Miss, Penn State, and I nailed Florida State, Georgia. What I missed on was I had Ohio State playing Oregon, and I had Missouri playing Liberty. And the reason I had that was I feel out of all the teams was that are Power 5 teams, Missouri's the worst one. in the New Year's Six. So I kind of had them playing Liberty for that reason. And I thought Ohio State Oregon was a good matchup because I feel like both of them are going to have similar amounts of opt outs. So it gives both teams a relatively equal chance in the game. If Ohio State is to beat Missouri, I think that just kind of solidifies how I feel about Ole Miss and Missouri. But it could change because, let's say Ohio State beats Missouri by a touchdown and Penn State beats Ole Miss by a touchdown. All right, well, Ohio State's clearly better than Penn State. And I hate to break it to you. I was on Penn State's train this season, but you lost to Michigan and Ohio State. Like, you're clearly in third place out of the big three. So I wouldn't say that Missouri losing definitely secures that position. But now if Ole Miss is to go and beat Penn State and then Missouri drops that game to Ohio State, yeah, it definitely solidifies how I feel about those two. But, given the fact that we've got the bowl matchups themselves, I don't care as much that Ole Miss is ranked lower because it allowed them to get that matchup with Penn State. And I love that game. Like, that's the one by far I'm most excited to watch out of the four. Mainly also because I think both teams are going to bring most of their players. I don't see, because, say what you will about James Franklin, the guys play for. And their record in New Year's Six bowl games is really impressive. And then with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, the guys at Ole Miss don't get this opportunity a whole heck of a lot. Well, I say that, but really when you start looking at SEC teams in New Year's Six bowls, I think Ole Miss might be, I think they're tied with Florida for the third most appearances in a New Year's Six bowl for an SEC team. They have more than LSU, which is crazy. You wouldn't think that given the fact that LSU won a national title, but yeah. So I think I don't expect a whole lot of opt-outs in Penn State Ole Miss, which is why another reason why I'm super thrilled for that game.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and tell you my theory on the reason why we didn't get an Ohio State Oregon. It's because Oregon's going to the Big Ten next year and they play in the regular season, so they probably wanted to wait until next year for that game. Just
fair.
a theory there. Just to kind of keep the conferences playing each.
And I'll touch real quick, and I want to hear Chase's thoughts on this too. The Liberty SMU thing. I am okay with Liberty being the choice. I understand their strength of schedule is literally the worst strength of schedule in college football. They did go undefeated, and the only reason I'm okay with them over SMU is because of SMU's loss to TCU. It's not because of their loss to Oklahoma. I think that is an insane quality loss, especially because if I remember correctly, that game was close. But the loss to TCU, that second loss, it makes it hard to slot them in over Liberty in my mind. Go back and watch our video on the playoffs. I feel like Florida State should be ahead of Alabama, and that's a 0-1 comparison. Where strength of schedule is in favor of Alabama. 0-2, yeah, I think Liberty should be the choice.
And I don't want to take anything away from New Mexico State, but watching the CUSA championship and how Liberty played that game, their defense was non-existent until the fourth quarter. And of course, it mattered in the fourth quarter. But at the same point, it looked like SMU had a better handle on a lot of their opponents this year. And to penalize them for playing two top-tier Power 5 opponents. And I mean, TCU's not really top-tier.
That's what holds me back.
They're still Power 5 and Liberty played 0.
Yeah, and Liberty, their offense is amazing. Let's not get that wrong. They can light up a field. That's why I think the Oregon-Liberty matchup is going to be really well, too. I think they're both going to light up the field, but I don't think Liberty is going to stop a nosebleed for Oregon. And so to say, I think SMU could have had a better shot, but at this point, it's a group of 5. It's kind of semantics. It's kind of like, how often besides, beating USC, because that's easy.
I wouldn't say it's semantics at all. The group of 5, if you take out Cincinnati in the playoff, right, like put that one over here, there's been 8 group of 5 teams play in New Year's Six bowls that aren't playoffs, and their record is 4-4.
Yeah, and that's why And because at that point also you're looking at a group of 5 teams besides the playoffs. You're looking at it like, it's a group of 5 team. Like Freddie hit on USC, had a lot of guys opt out last year, not taking it very seriously because it's Tulane. Tulane had all their guys. Tajay Spears was one of them, who was a 3rd-round draft pick. So he stuck around because he needed that game to help him. So, for me, I definitely think SMU should be there. Now, if one of those losses is to a group of 5, is to another group of 5 team, okay, that's different. But both of them were to Power 5 opponents in the Big 12. Really tough to just bash them over the head about it. So